My girlfriend mocked me in front of her friends while I hid a ring in my pocket, and I finally did something that shocked her. She laughed, called me not good enough, and let her friends join in while I stood there holding a proposal ring. I didn't argue, didn't yell, and didn't defend myself. I just walked away and set off a chain of events she clearly never expected. Hi, I'm Nate, 29, and 2 weeks ago, the girl I was going to propose to looked me in the eye, laughed, and said, "You'll never be good enough for me." Then she turned to her friends and added, "Right, ladies?" They all laughed. So I stood there, holding the ring I'd been carrying for 2 months, and said nothing. Not because I was stunned, but because I finally saw her for who she really was. We met 4 years ago in grad school. Jenna was the social magnet, polished, magnetic, full of curated chaos. I was the guy who fixed printers, tutored calculus, and went home with leftover pizza. Somehow, we worked. At least that's what I told myself while buying her oat milk lattes and driving her to influencer brunches in a car with no AC. The red flags? They were there. Of course they were. But I thought love was supposed to be a little bit hard. Like parallel parking or understanding the plot of Tenet. She said I balanced her out. Translation: I cleaned up the glitter spills and paid for parking tickets she forgot about. The night it all cracked started at her friend Taylor's birthday dinner. One of those rooftop places with tiny chairs and $28 cocktails. I knew half the table by name and none of them by kindness. They all had that same glossy look, moneyed, bored, and slightly mean. I was quiet most of the night, the way people get when they know they're tolerated, not welcomed. Jenna, on the other hand, was on a roll. Telling stories, doing impressions, drinking fast. Then came the moment. One of her friends, Liv, I think, asked, "So, Nate, when are you going to pop the question?" Jenna cackled. "Oh please," she said, waving her hand like I was a mosquito. "Nate's great and all, but he'll never be good enough for me. Right, ladies?" They laughed. Not all of them, but enough. My face burned. My ears buzzed. The box in my pocket suddenly felt like a dead weight. I looked at her, waiting for the punchline. The "just kidding." The wink. Nothing. She met my eyes and smirked like she was daring me to get mad. I didn't. I just nodded, pushed my chair back, and stood. "Excuse me," I said. "I think I left something in the car." It was my dignity. Outside, the air was sharp. Cold. Real. I stood in the parking garage and stared at the engagement ring I'd saved for in secret, doing extra shifts, skipping vacations, selling my old camera. And for what? I didn't go back upstairs. I texted her one word, "Noted." Then I drove home, packed a bag, and crashed on my best friend Milo's couch. Milo, who once offered to fake date me just to make Jenna jealous. Milo, who looked at me when I walked in and said, "So? You finally saw it, huh?" I nodded. "Good," he said. "Now let's ruin her expectations." The next morning, Milo handed me coffee, a croissant, and a plan. "So what's the move?" he asked. "Burn her clothes? Fake your death? Move to Portugal and sell artisanal glue?" "I was thinking, work," I said flatly. "You know, the thing I do when I'm not being publicly humiliated." He sipped. "Boring. But fair. Let's upgrade you first." "Upgrade me?" "Nate, you've been dating a human Instagram filter for 4 years. You need to decontaminate. New haircut. New shirts. Therapy. Maybe even real conditioner." "Thanks," I muttered. "I say it with love. Also, you're going to need armor. Because she's not done." Milo was right. Jenna never walked away from a stage before taking a bow. Sure enough, 2 days later, she called. Not texted. Called. Full drama. I feel like we need to talk, she said, voice all syrup. About how I'll never be good enough for you. I asked. Silence. Then a sharp exhale. It was a joke. You're so sensitive. No, I said calmly. I'm just no longer stupid. Oh, come on. You know I didn't mean it. Everyone laughed. That's kind of the problem. More silence. Then she shifted gears. Fine. If you're going to make this weird, just bring my stuff back. And I want the books my mom gave you. I didn't even flinch. Sure, I said. I'll drop everything off tomorrow. I did. One cardboard box. One post-it on top that said, "Thank you for your feedback." I dropped it off with the doorman and walked away before I could think too hard. That night, I opened the group chat. The one I shared with her friends, who tolerated me like a service animal with bad posture. It was already popping off. Taylor, so awkward the other night, lol. Liv, she was just being funny. He was so dramatic. Zara, I mean, she did say it in front of like 12 people. Taylor, he's the one who walked out. Rude. I didn't respond. I just quietly left the chat. Milo saw the whole thing from across the room and clapped. Congratulations, he said. You're officially free. But I didn't feel free yet. I felt peeled. Like someone had ripped off a bandage and exposed nerves I forgot were there. That weekend, I started therapy. Because here's the thing no one tells you, when someone tells you you're not good enough, over and over, in small ways, you start to believe it. And I was done believing it. 1 week later, she showed up at my office. No warning. No call. Just strolled into the lobby like she hadn't shattered me in front of half her brunch squad. Nate, the front desk guy whispered, poking his head into my cubicle. There's a very shiny woman asking for you. I knew before I turned. Red lips. Oversized sunglasses. Hair like a shampoo commercial. And an outfit that screamed accidentally overdressed to ruin someone's life. I met her in the hallway. You have some nerve, I said flatly. I just want to talk, she replied, like we were in the middle of a rom-com instead of a reality check. You've said plenty. She crossed her arms, annoyed I wasn't melting on cue. Okay, maybe I went too far. But do you have any idea how much pressure I'm under? I blinked. I'm sorry, is your reputation the one that got stomped into the patio tiles like a cigarette? I was joking, she said again, and I felt the rage begin to simmer. You know how I get with them. They're intense. I stared. So, what, you mock me to keep your seat at the mean girls' table? She looked at me like I'd just said something in a foreign language. I didn't think you'd take it so personally. I almost laughed. Jenna, I said slowly. I was going to propose to you that night. Her mouth fell open. Then closed. Then opened again, this time with tears welling in her eyes like a faucet set to manipulate. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't know, she whispered, voice trembling. Nate, if I had known. What? I cut in. You would have humiliated me after the ring instead of before. Her jaw clenched. I came here to apologize, she snapped. You're clearly not ready to accept it. I took a step back. You didn't come to apologize. You came to erase the consequences. That landed. She didn't respond. Just turned on her $1,000 heel and left the way she came, dramatic, loud, and refusing to carry her own damage. I walked back to my desk shaking. Not from sadness. From clarity. Because here's what hit me like a truck full of overdue realizations. That woman never saw me as a partner. Just a placeholder. The reliable backup singer to her solo. And I was done playing backup. That night, Milo and I went out. Real drinks, not rooftop fig cocktails. A dive bar with sticky floors and a jukebox that worked half the time. You good? He asked. I think so, I said. And then, as if the universe had been waiting for a punchline. Guess who walked in? No, not Jenna. Her best friend. Zara. And she walked right up to me like she'd been waiting for this moment. You were right to leave, she said. I blinked. What? She crossed a line. I told her that. She didn't like hearing it. I nodded slowly. Thanks. Then she added, also, I always thought you were kind of great. You know. For someone who voluntarily wears khakis. And that's when I realized the story wasn't over. It was just getting interesting. We ended up playing darts. Me. Zara. Milo, who loudly whispered, I ship this, every 5 minutes like a 12-year-old with a Tumblr account. It wasn't a date. Not really. But it also wasn't not a date. There was laughter. There was eye contact. There was one too many tequila shots that made me accidentally say, you smell like library books and chaos, which she weirdly liked. Around midnight, Milo called a rideshare and left us alone with 2 soggy pretzels and an old Rem song humming from the speakers. So, Zara said, leaning against the sticky bar, you were really gonna propose? I nodded. Had the ring and everything. Let me guess. Something modest, classic. Not flashy. Vintage white gold, Art Deco. Her Pinterest board had it saved 3 times. She raised an eyebrow. You looked at her Pinterest board? She left it open on my laptop. I took notes. Damn, she whispered. You really loved her. Yeah. But I don't think she ever actually saw me. Zara was quiet for a second. Then she reached over, took my hand, just for a second, and said, well, I see you now. I didn't know what to say, so I said something deeply stupid, you want to go to Waffle House? She laughed like I'd told the best joke of the night. Absolutely. We didn't kiss. We didn't fall into some rom-com montage with syrup dripping over our fingers. We sat in that booth at 1:27 a.m., splitting a plate of hash browns and talking about everything, family, work, why relationships that look perfect online feel empty in person. When I finally dropped her off, she smiled and said, that was the best almost date I've ever had. I went home and slept for the first time in a week without dreaming of rooftop bars and ring boxes. But Jenna wasn't done. 3 days later, I got a message from her mom. Hi Nathan. I think we need to talk. Jenna's very upset. She told me everything. Everything, of course, being her version of the truth. I didn't respond. I'd blocked Jenna's number, but her flying monkeys had just begun circling. Liv, so you're just ghosting after 4 years. Taylor, real mature, Nate. Even her cousin messaged me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. The sacred temple of passive job hunting. And then came the post. Jenna, my ex-fiancée who mocked me in front of a dozen people, posted a photo of her on a balcony with a wine glass and the caption. Some people love you until you stop serving their ego. With my initials in the comments. N.M. subtle as a Molotov cocktail. I didn't clap back. I didn't send screenshots. I just took the ring, still in its box, and walked it to a pawn shop 3 blocks away. Breakup? The guy asked. Breakthrough, I said. I got $3,800 for it. I used $500 to get my brakes fixed, $200 for a new pair of shoes, and the rest I gave to a scholarship fund for kids in my old neighborhood. Because if I was going to lose 4 years of my life, I'd at least earn some good karma. Later that week, Zara texted me. Waffle House round 2? Or are we ready for grown-up food? I smiled. Maybe the best revenge isn't moving on. Maybe it's upgrading your peace. 2 weeks later, Jenna showed up at my mom's house. Yeah. You read that right. My actual, sweet, just got into sourdough mom opened the door in her floral apron, expecting a package from Etsy, and found Jenna standing there like she was auditioning for a Lifetime movie called The Woman Who Couldn't Let Go. Nathan's not here, Mom said, blinking. I know, Jenna replied, stepping onto the porch like it was still hers. I came to talk to you. Now, my mom is many things, patient, kind, pathologically polite, but what she is not is someone who lets drama sit on her welcome mat without wiping its shoes. Jenna, she said, all honey and steel, if this is about what happened at Taylor's party, I think you should speak to Nathan directly. He's not listening to me, Jenna snapped. He's letting everyone turn him against me. No, sweetie, Mom said, adjusting her glasses. He just finally turned toward himself. Then she closed the door. I found out about it later that night. Mom texted. Guess who stopped by? She left without sourdough. I consider it a win. I laughed so hard I dropped my fork. But Jenna's detour to Manipulationville didn't stop there. The next day, I got an email. A whole novella titled My Side of the Story. It was 6 paragraphs of deflection, sprinkled with half-hearted apologies like confetti at a party no one wanted to attend. She ended it with, if you ever want to revisit what we had, I'm still here. I never stopped loving you. And deep down, I know you didn't either. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Milo with the subject line, what in the Lifetime reboot is this? He replied. Burn it. With fire. Or print it out and make it origami swans for your next date with Zara. Which, funny enough, was happening that Friday. Date 3. Not that I was counting. But I was definitely counting. This time, we went to a bookstore cafe. Zara picked it. She showed up wearing Converse and a hoodie with a physics pun on it. I told her she looked like trouble. She told me I looked like someone who finally slept 8 hours. We wandered through stacks of books, sipping espresso and arguing about whether The Great Gatsby is overrated. It is. Somewhere between the graphic novel section and the cookbooks, I said something I didn't mean to say out loud. You make me feel like I'm allowed to exist without proving it. She stopped, blinked. Then just nodded and said, same. We didn't kiss that night either. Still not ready. But we sat on a bench outside until the cafe closed, trading stories about the worst dates we'd ever been on. She won. Her story involved an ex who brought his mother. On purpose. As we walked to our cars, I got a text. From Liv. You're such a jerk for ghosting her. She was crying at brunch today. I stared at it for a long moment. Then typed back. Tell her brunch won't fix what therapy needs to. Blocked. Deleted. Done. Zara peeked over my shoulder. More flying monkeys. Just the last ones crashing into the sea. She grinned. Good. Let them drown. You've got better places to fly. 6 weeks later, I was in a park. Picnic blanket, take-out tie, 2 paperbacks between us. Zara was reading The Martian. I was pretending to read Sapiens but really just watching her lips move when she mouthed certain lines. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. No passive-aggressive sighs. No eye rolls when I asked a question. Just silence. Soft. Safe. Like a room with good lighting and no judgment. She caught me staring. What? She asked. You blink like a Morse code machine when you read. She threw a peanut at me. That's when my phone buzzed. Blocked number. Voicemail. I didn't check it right away. I'd stopped living on high alert. But later, as I tossed napkins into a trash bin and Zara tried to coax a squirrel with leftover spring rolls, I tapped play. Jenna. Of course. Her voice was smaller. Tired. Like someone finally met their own consequences and couldn't out-talk them. Hey. I'm guessing you've blocked me by now. I don't blame you. God, I really blew it. And not just at dinner. I've been thinking a lot. Therapy. Real therapy, not the influencer kind. Anne. I'm realizing I never really said I was sorry. Not for the party. For everything. She paused. I could hear cars in the background. And maybe, tears. I don't expect anything from this. I just wanted you to know I know. You were always good enough. I just wasn't ready to be decent to someone who was. Click. No drama. No begging. Just honesty. Late, but honest. I sat with that for a while. Zara looked up. You good? Yeah, I said. I think I just got closure from someone I used to think held the key to my whole future. She smiled. Do we need to burn anything symbolic? Nah. I already pawned the ring. Karma's been served. We drove home in silence. Not heavy. Just, full. The next morning, I opened my laptop and drafted an email to myself. Subject line, what I know now. It read. Love is not something you have to earn by shrinking yourself. You don't have to be mocked to be interesting. Boundaries aren't rude. They're the map back to yourself. Waffle House is always a valid second date. Anyone who laughs at you in front of their friends doesn't love you. They love the power. You are not a placeholder for someone else's growth. Healing doesn't look like revenge. It looks like peace. You don't owe closure to someone who made you feel like an option. Life is too short to date someone who hates your khakis. The right person doesn't try to fix you. They see you. And stay. I hit save. And that afternoon, while Zara and I grocery shopped for pancake mix and debated the merits of canned whipped cream, I caught her looking at me. What? I asked. She grinned. You blink like a Morse code machine when you're happy too. And that's when I knew. I was. Fully, stupidly, deeply happy. Because she didn't just see me. She never made me earn it.